Hi, honor students. We are going to start with trigonometry, and so I thought it would be useful to go over the basics of angles. So let's start with the very top left-hand side. And what is an angle exactly? Well, an angle, first off, you have to draw it. An angle is the difference of measure between the initial side and the terminal side. And if you take a look, our initial side is always a horizontal side, and it sits right there on the bottom. It typically is written, your ray runs from left to right with a vertex on the left and the arrow on the right. To represent the actual angle, when you draw your initial side and then you draw your terminal side, you usually put an arrow in between the two rays to designate whether the angle is opening in a counterclockwise direction or in a clockwise direction. And you always give your angle some sort of a name. Okay, so last year you learned that this little guy right here is called the vertex, and that is the vertex of your angle. So if you move to the right, a positive angle, let's talk about a positive angle. A positive angle always has a counterclockwise rotation. All right, so its initial side is on the left, and then the arrow of rotation goes from the initial side to the terminal side in a counterclockwise rotation. A negative angle has a clockwise rotation like this, and we'll call this angle theta, which is the standard name for angles in trigonometry. And this is a negative angle. So if we were going to represent, say, this one had a negative 145 degrees, where this angle in the positive direction might have a measure of 120 degrees. One's positive and one's negative, and that's how you know the angle of rotation, whether it's clockwise or counterclockwise. Now on the bottom right of this window is what looks like a circle with just a single ray. One of the things that I didn't write here was this ray right here is both the initial and the terminal side of an angle. So the terminal side actually ends on the initial side of your angle. So if you take a look at the entire rotation, it's rotating in a clockwise direction. That full rotation actually equals one complete rotation, and you guys should know this already. One complete rotation is 360 degrees. All right, and so a degree, let's define what the degree is. It is the smallest unit of measure for an angle, okay? And later on we're going to learn that you can also measure angles in radians as well. So there's two units of measure for an angle, just like we can measure things in centimeters, meters, inches, feet, yards, miles. There are two ways to measure angles. One is in degrees, and 1 degree is the smallest unit of measure for an angle in degrees, and you can also measure an angle in radians, and we'll get to that as we get into trigonometry. And just a review on the types of angles that we have acute angles. Acute angles are when the degree theta has a value that's less than 90 degrees, but greater than 0 degrees. Let me squeeze that in. A right angle, theta equals exactly 90 degrees. The obtuse angle, and let me draw these arrows in for the angle of rotation. Your obtuse angle is always between 90 degrees and 180 degrees. And then your straight angle. This looks like a straight line, but it's actually a straight angle as well. It opens up, and your straight angle equals exactly 180 degrees. And you notice when I write these degrees, I put this little open dot above and to the right of the number I write, and that is the degree symbol. So those are the basics of angles.